I sat down and watched The Ice Road last night. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I was entertained throughout.
Wonderful.
I don't think there's a Liam Neeson film that doesn't take my attention away from me. So right there, I was like, this is great. And thoroughly enjoyed it. But for you, it looked like, number one, an incredibly hard film to shoot.
Indeed.
Because of the climate you're in, the situations the film has. So when you sat down to write this film, why did this story come about for you? And maybe why did you make it so difficult for yourself putting it in that sort of climate?
Well, I've been doing this long enough to know how to fake stuff.
Yep.
So I, and as dramatists working in Hollywood, we've gotten very used to taking a very expansive view of our material, to not hold ourselves back, because we've watched the magicians and their craft for so long. Yeah. So we have a high degree of confidence of faking it. But I'll answer the first question first. The origins of the material came from a marriage of two things: my love of the Clouseau film Wages of Fear, which I saw when I was a little boy, and it stuck with me forever.
Yep.
And I was always searching for a way to do a bunch of ne'er-do-wells transporting cargo over dangerous terrain. And I could never figure out, Billy Friedkin did it in the 70s. He did it through a jungle. And that was with, it eludes me.
It eludes me too. I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of it.
Sorcerer.
Yep.
Sorcerer, and I like Sorcerer, so I really wanted to do this, and I could never figure out how to do it. And then I became a fan in the first 2 seasons of Ice Road Truckers, the reality show, and the two ideas just collided. It just dawned on me. I just went, aha! I can make Wages of Fear, or make a film that's inspired by Wages of Fear, without that nitroglycerin transported across the mountain business. And so I was off and running. So I'd done a film called Kill the Irishman with Code Entertainment, and we were working together on developing a bunch of stuff, and we started talking about this, and the idea just grew and grew and grew. And then it was sort of how to cast it and how to make the damn thing. And we had an idea where we were going to make it in Romania.
Yep.
And do all the ice road stuff on a hockey rink, and with green screen, and fake the whole thing. And then the idea was proposed to do a live action shoot with real big rigs on the real frozen Winnipeg. And the shoot dates lined up with Liam Neeson's availability, which was the coldest part of the year, in the coldest city in North America, over 500,000, which is Winnipeg. So we looked into it, and we said, well, are the provincial authorities going to allow us to take 18-wheelers out on the real frozen Lake Winnipeg and smash them into each other? And we did. We started asking these real questions, and we got very favorable answers that the ice is so thick during February that go for it. So it got better and better and better. And then we devised this plan to take Kenworth big rig cabs and mount them on Ford 550 pickup trucks.
Okay, yeah.
And have the actors inside the cabs faking driving, with a stunt driver down below driving the pickup truck.
Yep, okay.
And marry that footage with the second unit footage with stunt guys of the exterior of the rigs.
Yep.
And so the whole shooting plan congealed, and
So that's how you shot the truck stuff with the wow. Okay, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Never would have noticed that.
Well, see, most of these shots, exactly. What's interesting about it is, in a traditional shoot in today's Hollywood, you take your rigs and you put them on a soundstage, and it's all green screened. Everything's green screened.
Yep.
So you fake everything on the inside with your actors acting as if they're driving, and then you put in the passing of the terrain over the green screen. And that's why our stuff looks so a lot of viewers have said that's like younger viewers in particular who are used to this green screen stuff, they go, wow, never seen anything like that, you know.
All the ice road footage is quite impressive. Like, I was watching it going, yeah, that looks legit. Like, yeah, it looks like they actually went up there. And then I did some Googling. It's like, they did film up there. And I was like, okay, well, you guys went out of your way. But obviously you guys have a budget that you have to stick to and all that. Was it difficult with, I don't know what your budget was, I don't need to know, but did that sort of constrain you at all going up there, or did you like sort of just go, yeah, we've got a bit there we can play with to go up there?
It did constrain us, and but you know, constraints are interesting because if you embrace them, interesting things can happen. You know, there's something to be said for not having everything you want.
I suppose it makes you think outside the box, and it's like the whole under pressure scenario where you're a bit under pressure and it makes multiple ideas jump in going, let's try it this way, sort of thing.
You bet.
Yeah. Okay. No, yeah, all the ice road stuff was impressive to watch. I think I've only seen a couple of episodes of the TV series. But yeah, impressive shots there. And did you, when you're writing it, did you have Liam in mind as the lead? Or was that he just sort of popped in later on and you're like, okay, Liam it is?
It's the latter. I did not have him in mind. The part was originally written for somebody a little younger, and I thought that box, the age box, was easier to fill, that there were more actors a little bit younger. What's interesting about Liam Neeson, you know, he continues to play significantly younger than he is. I mean, for goodness sakes, the guy just turned 69 years old.
Yeah.
He's so remarkably well preserved that you don't think of him for parts like this, really, even though he has made this wonderful part of his career doing these action pictures since Taken. But the script went out and it was read by some people at Creative Artists Agency, and then Chris Andrews, Liam Neeson's agent, sent it to him, and we got a very pleasant call that he was interested, and I flew to New York and sat with Liam, and Liam loved the Brotherhood story, and he was just taken by that, and he liked the page turning quality of the script.
Yeah.
So he signed on, and you know, you don't turn down Liam Neeson, obviously. No, you know, it was it gave the picture and it elevated the material.
Yeah. I've heard that his work ethic is incredible. What was it like on set with him?
His work ethic is incredible. So what you've heard is true. He you know, he's just a, you know, one resorts to cliches, but he's the consummate pro. You know, he's a true believer. He loves cinema. He's had a wonderful career. He's been good to cinema. Cinema's been good to him.
Yeah.
You know, he's an unassuming guy from Northern Ireland, and he's had this remarkable run. The guy, he's done all these dramatic roles. He's been nominated at the highest level, and then he has all these crowd pleasing pictures as well. You know.
Well, it seems he loves to work, so that's a good thing.
Indeed.
Yeah. So it looked like a fair few sequences in the film could have been, as I said before, quite difficult to shoot. Was there one sequence that comes to mind that you're like, wow, I can't believe we actually achieved that?
It was Liam in the water.
Yeah.
In the freezing water. I mean, that it was nearly 30 degrees below 0 centigrade that day.
Wow.
And that's really him in the water. And now he was wearing a dry suit, a survival suit, but that's no small thing.
No.
Still. And hypothermia can set in and all kinds of things. So that was, of everything that was demanding, that was the most demanding. He wanted to do it, and I was certainly not going to say no. because you look at it and you can tell it's not a soundstage. We're out of.
It looked legit. I was watching it, going, yeah, that's legit. that's cold. Like you could see in his face that the cold. Now I just want to jump and talk about some of your other work, because when I get an email saying, hey, would you like to interview a director, the first thing I do is I go to IMDb and I have a look and I jump on the Wikipedia and have a read and maybe watch a couple of interviews that I can find on YouTube. And then I looked at your body of work and I was like, holy shit, you were basically every movie I loved in the 90s you were involved with. Con Air, loved it. The Saint, loved it. Armageddon, probably watched it about 4,000 times. Gone in 60 Seconds, Punisher, next, like Die Hard with a Vengeance, like young Indiana Jones. Like you've done some stuff in your career which is just incredible, and I look at it and I just go, "Holy shit!"
Well, thank you very much. That's very gratifying. That's
well, yeah, nice. It's impressive, mate. So I just want to say, like, congratulations. Like, your body of work's incredible. And you worked with Nicolas Cage a few times, so that would have been an eye opener. Even though his latest film, Pig's, getting insane reviews, so I can't wait to see that.
I adore Nick, and I'm so proud of him. I just want to shout out to Nick Cage because he's had a run here which was not the same as the run right before that. So, but talent is talent, and you can't keep talent down. And he's one of the great actors of this generation. And for him to come back with the reviews that he's getting for Pig, because there's a lot of talk about a nomination for him, etc. I think I've seen the picture. I think he deserves it. Anyway, shout out to Nick.
Yeah. I've loved nearly everything he's ever done, like all the way back to Face Off and all that. Like I grew up watching him. So the fact that you've worked with him a few times I think is really cool. The Saint was another one. Like I'm surprised that hasn't been remade 4,000 times, because the storyline is such a cool storyline. And Val Kilmer was like the peak Val Kilmer back then. Elizabeth Shue as well. Yeah. And that was peak Elizabeth Shue as well. So,
directed by an Australian, Phil Noyce.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But Armageddon, this is one I've always wanted to ask, and I've got the writer here for it. Was your original script what ended up on screen, or did Michael Bay use some creative stuff and change it a bit?
The beam, what we call the beam, the through line, the ribbon of the entire story, including everything, the introduction of the original characters on the oil derrick, the crazy Russian, all of the second act business, all of the sort of vicarious fatherhood stuff, this bizarro triangle between a father, his daughter, and her suitor, all of that, and the ending, of course, everything was in the first draft.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, so none of it changed at all. And kudos to Joe Roth. Joe Roth was the head of Disney at the time, and Michael Bay and I walked into Joe's office on a Tuesday afternoon, and he said, "What do you got, fellas?" And I said, "Joe, I got your next big picture." And I said, "Here's the scenario. An asteroid the size of Texas is coming straight at Earth. NASA knows that they can interdict it. They can go out and meet the asteroid, but they don't have the technology to implant a nuclear bomb. The only people that know how to do this are oil drillers down off the coast of Houston in the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah. So it's the lowest tech meets the highest tech going out to save the world." And he said, "I'm greenlighting the picture. I'm going to greenlight this picture, and I even have the title for it." And Michael and I said, "What?" Because we've been trying to think of a title. He said, "Armageddon." Now that's a true story, just as I told it. That's exactly how.
What a pitch! What a pitch! I don't think stuff like that really happens anymore. The amount of hoops you got to jump through to get films made these days, and you look at the 90s, like especially with your run of films. It's sad to say they don't do that anymore. Like you don't get a lot like original, like Gone with 60 Seconds. I remember when that came out and that just blew up. That went nuts. And like even with the original, don't get me wrong, I don't mind the new Jumanjis, but the original Jumanji as well, that went nuts. And it just feels like cinema's sort of, they all want existing IP these days.
Correct.
Because they know that they've got the built-in audience already, blah, 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 blah. That's why I love watching a good indie film every now and then, like a good, like $6 to $12 million budget, like like you know that they've bled to get that 4 to 6 mil or 4 to 10 mil, and they've put everything into that little picture.
That's right. Well, I think I'm trying. This is very interesting what you're asking about, and I'm trying to meet a demand here, and I think I may have sort of a successful third act to my career by doing original action pictures, if I can continue to keep the budgets down enough. Because if I told you the below the line cost of Ice Road, you'd cough.
Probably.
You'd have a hard I mean, because it's so low.
Yeah.
We made it for a very economical price, and Netflix loves that. And suffice it to say, this is not going to be the last you hear from me. I'm going to have a succession of pictures here because I've now got a business model that I can make these pictures that do have some originality, that don't come from this IP stuff, that aren't just, the third or fourth or fifth remake of something, or part 3 or part 4 or whatever. So I'm very bullish about this next period of my career. So, but
sounds exciting.
Well, cheers. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I too am sick and tired of all these damn remakes.
Yeah.
I'm
with you. But the thing is, like, I'm like Blumhouse, that their model has worked extremely well for them. They keep their budgets under a certain amount, and that's just the way it is. And they go gangbusters. So if you have something similar that you're in mind for your films, then I say go for it. See what you can do, see what you can put together and get out. Okay, here's an interesting question. You're a writer. You're a quite successful writer. How many scripts do you have sitting there that you've just knocked out over the years?
A great question. The ones that I would be willing to make?
Yeah.
You mean, in other words, things that I really like, that I have a high conviction on, that I would like to make, that have not been yet produced?
Yep.
I have 11.
11. Oh, I'm sure you can find a few in there that you could do. One thing, like going back to Young Indiana Jones, have you ever heard anything about them bringing that series back? Because with Indiana Jones being such a popular character, and that series was pretty popular. Don't get me wrong, it only lasted a few years, but I'm surprised they haven't brought that back, to be honest with you.
I am too. And Mr. Lucas has sold his company, Lucasfilm, which owned all of that intellectual property. He sold it to Disney. I have people out there that are monitoring this, and I certainly will put myself forward, as I'm sure Frank Darabont will put himself forward.
Yeah.
The two of us wrote that show together, and I would love to do Young Indy again. I think,
in my eyes, there's a Disney Plus series in that.
I couldn't agree more. I think and hopefully wise decisions will be made with that.
Well, that's the thing. There's a few things that you've written that they could easily make a series of if they really wanted to. Gone in 60 Seconds, they could make a TV series of that. I know that we were just shitting on reboots and all that a second ago, but that would be a perfect series. And same with even The Saint could be a series, really.
Indeed, it was.
But they're rebooting that into a film, aren't they? Isn't there another film coming out supposedly?
I've heard, yeah. Yep.
So looking back at your body of work, what's the one that jumps out? Like if I say what's the one thing you worked on where you're like that was incredible, that was my favorite time of my working career?
Well, so much of this has to do with other things that are going on in one's life and everything, but I think the best time I ever had, I guess two of them. There are two films that it's impossible to do this, but I'll do it anyway. I would say that the summer that I had with John McTiernan making Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yep.
I felt like I was really coming into my own then, and my career was just gaining a lot of notoriety at that time, and I was all flush with the whole thing when you first kind of come into your own in Hollywood, and I would say filming on Alcatraz with Michael Bay, The Rock.
Yeah, that's another one of my guilty pleasures. I like a good Michael Bay film. Some of them, in my eyes, fall over a bit. I think he's an incredible filmmaker. Sometimes I think his creative control gets a bit too much for him, and the stories go a little bit too that way. But like 13 Hours in Benghazi, because it was a true story and he had to hit certain beats, and he couldn't really, he could do his patriotism, which he does really well. But because it was like, it was a great movie because he couldn't mess with a lot of this stuff.
Well, this was Michael constrained by Don Simpson, who was still alive then, and Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yep.
They still had their partnership, and then also me, and then also to some extent Sean Connery. You know, so Michael was more of not just a sort of action auteur the way he became, but he was part of a creative team. And I have the highest esteem for Michael's ability to
me too.
Yeah, to visually realize these things. And I think I too am one of the voices in town that hopes that he cede a part of his creative control of the subject matter and the screenplay over to others, and just and sit very confidently in the director's chair and do what he does, because he's wonderful at doing it.
Oh yeah, he knows how to shoot. Like, can't fault that. Yeah. Any film like The Island, I love The Island, that like every sequence in that is impressive. But yeah, 100% agree there. But no, I'm gonna wrap up here. But lastly, have you, because you've worked on involved in all these cool films, have you ever kept anything for yourself? Like, have you ever like, oh, can I have one of them and just hold on to, or any prop or anything like that?
There's little things here and there, like gosh, I got to go back to, I've got a box of this stuff, you know. I mean, I just come into mind. I mean, we just talking about The Rock, you know, those, you know, the poison, the pool balls.
You know what? In my head just then, I was like, I remember, because I love movie props, and I don't have much because I can't afford much, but I've got a storyboard from the original Star Wars and all that sort of stuff. But I saw one of those green balls for sale on a prop website not too long ago, and I was this close to going to buy it because I was like,
oh wow,
I'd love something from that film.
And there's little pieces that were on the Jumanji board. I've got a couple of them.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. I've got all kinds of stuff like that. I've got the steering wheel from the car in Gone in 60 Seconds. You know,
what from the Shelby
on the Shelby? Yeah.
Okay, hold on to that one, because I'm sure there's some collectors that would pay quite a bit for that. Because I think I'm pretty sure not too long ago, because you know how the side mirror gets knocked off in the chase, that side mirror went up for sale. I think I saw on some website. I'm in a prop group on Facebook, and some of the stuff that pops up on there, you're like, the side mirror from Gone in 60 Seconds that gets knocked off in the chase, $6,000 US or something like that. But no, it's I like asking actors and directors when I talk to them, have you kept anything? Like I talked to Hugo Weaving not too long ago, and he's got one of the V for Vendetta masks that he wore.
Right.
And I was like, incredible, like so good. But anyways, I'll leave you to it. Great to talk to you, Jonathan. Thoroughly enjoyed the film. I hope that I see a lot more of your name on the director's thing coming up in the future. Hopefully there's some more Netflix films on your horizon, or some more theatrical here in Australia. And good luck. Thanks for the chat.
Thank you very, very much. Yeah, it's lovely chatting. Seriously. Okay, man.
Take it easy. See you, buddy.
You too. Bye.